Hey, what is up, guys? It is Card Shuffler 99 here, and today we are going to be revealing Issy Simpson's magic trick on Britain's Got Talent. So basically, she did a box trick and a chalkboard trick. So we're going to be putting that together for you guys now. Once again, this is going to be just a video with me talking and explaining to you guys our opinions on it. Obviously, if you guys want this to stay anonymous, or if you guys want the methods to stay a secret, you do not have to watch this video. I'm not forcing you guys to watch this video, but if you guys are curious as to the methods she used, we're going to be talking about those today. Obviously, there is no definitive proof that any of these methods are correct, but we are pretty confident that this is exactly what she did. So we're not here to try to ruin her trick, but we are here to try to inform you guys. So once again, if you do not want to watch this video, please don't. But if you do want to know how it's done, you can stick around. We will have a link to the actual performance down below. I know that BGT or Britain's Got Talent, their actual YouTube channel has not posted the full performance for it. So we will put a link to that down below for you guys to check out. Now, this is a pretty good trick. Obviously, for her to be such a young magician going on the show, it's pretty big. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about each series of the trick, and I'll give you guys my opinions. I hope you guys enjoy it. Now, in the link, there will be a link in the description as well to free my apps if you guys want to get some free gift cards. Just pointing that out. If you guys want to get some free gift cards or anything like that, we'll have a link down below. Now, this trick, honestly, to be honest with you, it was a great trick, but in my opinion, it definitely got me a little bit upset because the entire trick was basically a gimmick. Now, what do I mean by that? Almost every stage of the trick is actually a sold effect, okay? So, for each thing to be a sold effect, we cannot actually, we didn't buy any of these things, so we can't tell you guys exactly how it works. But we'll give you guys our opinions and our thoughts on how it could work. But you guys would have to honestly purchase it for yourself to actually understand, I guess, how it works. So let's talk about the box aspect. So obviously, she walks to the judges and she sets a desk or a box onto the desk. Okay. Now this box is actually a gimmick, and it's sold on magic sites all across. You can search it up. I believe it's called This Is Heavy by J. Mattioli. Now, this is basically a cardboard box that at certain points becomes very hard to lift. Now, obviously, I don't know exactly how this specific gimmick works. Now, I read the description of it. There's no suctions. There's nothing like that, and it is a very practical effect. You can see other performances of it as well, and it is the exact thing. I'm quite convinced. Because I've seen his performance in the box that he uses, or the gimmick looks the exact same as the one that she used. So I'm quite convinced that this is it. Once again, it's called This Is Heavy by J. Mattioli. Now, to be completely honest with you, it didn't mention anything about magnets. Now, that has got to be one of my probably strongest opinions on how this is going to work. And I believe it has to do with magnets, and it's got to be a pretty strong magnet at that. Probably some electromagnet or some really, really strong magnet that can actually hold the box down. It can be triggered through like a remote control or something like that that can turn it on and off as you please. So obviously we don't know exactly how it's done, and we can't actually purchase it and reveal it to you guys exactly how it works. But that's our thought. It's probably going to be some sort of magnet or some sort of device, obviously, that's going to help that box stick to the table. But then again, it is just a gimmick. It's not like she glued it to the table or anything like that. There wasn't, in my opinion, much magic to that part of the trick. I think that was kind of just like a little way to entertain everybody and kind of get the trick going and get people to kind of like her as a magician. Now, obviously, what she did was she ended up lifting up the box and taking it away. But before that, she actually handed each of the judges a book. Now, each of the judges actually got a legitimate book. So there's no gimmick about the book, okay? But there is a gimmick about the chalkboard. So before I get into the chalkboard part of the trick, because obviously that's probably one of the biggest parts of this effect, I'm going to talk about the kind of card trick. Now, if you guys know anything about, playing cards or, how card tricks work a lot of times with kind of predictions, I guess you could see, her t-shirt being a prediction or something like that. It typically involves a card force. Now, if you look at her specific performance, it does seem completely fair. So it doesn't seem like she's actually doing some sort of card force. So I'll tell you this right now. One of the card forces that I know that uses kind of the idea of touching a card is where you take off cards like this and you spread on top and they can touch a card. Let's say they touch this card here, and when you push it in, you actually just force the card. If you don't know what that is, that's called the cull force, if you guys want to look that up for yourself. But she did not do anything like that. So this is my opinion on how it's done, because it doesn't look like, obviously she is forcing a card, but it doesn't look like it's a specific card force. So if you watch when she actually spreads through and she shows Simon that all the cards are different, she doesn't actually show you that all the cards are different, if that makes sense. Now, one thing you have to know, obviously for her to be such a young magician, she probably doesn't have much card handling skills. Now, obviously I can't speak 100% for how good she could be with cardistry or anything like that. But I'll tell you one thing right now, she's probably not capable. Now, the fairest card force out there is called the classic force, where you spread through and you kind of push a card into their hand as they're reaching in. Now, she didn't do that, obviously. She just spread through, and Simon got to touch any card and she brought it to the top. Now, if you look closely, when she spreads through, she actually shows cards on the bottom, but then she block pushes, okay? If you don't know what block pushing is, it's where you take a large portion of cards, you push them over, and you keep going. Now, look carefully. She probably only showed Simon about maybe 10 to 15 cards total. She showed him some at the top, block pushed, and showed some at the end. And he said, yes, they're all different, you know? My idea here is that all the cards in the middle are actually the same card. Now, this is a pretty practical way to force a card, especially for a young magician who probably can't do many card forces, and let alone this is going to look completely fair. Now, the reason I think this is because as she tells Simon to touch a card, okay, she goes through and she kind of spreads into the middle, okay, and you can see that she has like block pushed a good amount of the top cards, okay. So she block pushes the top cards and she kind of stops right at the middle. So she's only showing him 10 different cards, 10, 15 cards. So no matter which card he would have touched in the middle of the packet, they all would have been the same card. So it wouldn't matter which one he touches. But you can see that she actually stops after she spreads like 10 cards. So no matter what card Simon touches, it would be the same card, okay? So that's important to understand. I don't think that it was a specific card force. I looked over this a bunch of times. Obviously, she is forcing a card on Simon, considering that she had a shirt. No, she does not. She's not wearing 52 different shirts. She obviously did force that one card, but it doesn't look like she did a specific card force, such as the cull force like that. I believe she actually has like maybe 20 to 25, maybe 30 of the same card in the middle of the pack, okay? Now, in terms of the chalkboard idea, okay, there is actually a device. Now, this is where the other gimmick comes into play. So, the box was a gimmick. Now, the chalkboard is the other gimmick, okay? So, at this point, there is, you know, especially in this world, there actually is something known as the self-writing chalkboard. Now, if you don't know who Dan White is, Dan White actually performed tricks. He performs a lot on like TV shows like NBC, but he actually is most famous for being for performing on Jimmy Fallon's show. And Dan White did a very similar trick with the same chalkboard. Now, we actually did a reveal for that trick, and all that chalkboard is, it's a very expensive chalkboard. I gotta say, I think it's like a little over $1,000, a couple $1,000. It's called the Lynx chalkboard, okay? Now, basically what this is, I can't explain exactly how it works, obviously, because it is a sold effect, okay? But what I can tell you is that it's just a self-writing chalkboard. You can look it up for yourself. I know that they have kind of a little video on YouTube, I believe. But if you look it up for yourself, the Lynx chalkboard, it's basically a chalkboard that can actually be activated or controlled by an external device, such as an iPhone or any smartphone or tablet, or something like that. Now, how would this work? Now, basically, it being a self-writing chalkboard, what would basically happen is, what you would do is you would have like a smartphone or a tablet, and basically, if you have it, you can basically write like whatever you want to write on it. For example, the word. Okay, so this could be some assistant. It could be her mom who was standing in the back. It could obviously just be her dad, maybe, who was in the audience doing this for her, who basically writes it down with. Obviously, you know, the parent would probably write it with some childish handwriting. That way it looks accurate. But all you have to do is write it on the phone, and basically it'll transfer to the chalkboard through a self-writing device. Now, obviously it could be electric, but what I can tell you is it is a very expensive device, so it is really difficult. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how in the world her parents would actually buy her this just for this one trick. I mean, obviously, if this same chalkboard comes back in multiple tricks, that means a little bit more, but it is just known as the Lynx chalkboard, or at least I believe it's the Lynx chalkboard. But I mean, unfortunately, I'm sorry I can't give you any other details on it, but what I can tell you is that basically there's some system that will allow it to basically write based on some external device where someone can actually write something down on like some notepad or some electric pad, and then it'll transfer to the chalkboard. Now, if you didn't notice, the chalkboard in the performance for her was actually the exact same as Dan White's chalkboard, if you look carefully. But that is our opinion, guys. Once again, that is the reveal for Issy Simpson's trick on Britain's Got Talent. Once again, a link will be down in the description to the performance. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And this is Card Shuffler 99. Peace out.